Alright, so, I got a lot of great comments on the Turkey versus Saudi Arabia video that I made a couple days ago, and I would like to read some of those comments now, and kind of go over what was brought up in those comments, because I think there was a lot of good points made, and then when that's all done and over with, we'll get into some of the funnier comments that I think were made. First up, a person claiming to be Saudi said, and I say that not as an insult, but I don't know who the hell you are. I see an M and screen name, so but I have no reason to dispute that. So whatever. They first said that his Apple Watch recorded and broadcast everything. Then Apple came out and said the watches don't do that. Then they said they hear him screaming, but it's impossible to hear anything from inside the embassy. The people they took pictures of and said were an assassin group is also not true. Some of them came with their families. They also said that that day the embassy gave a day off to all Turkish workers in the embassy, but the missing guy's girlfriend said that she asked a Turkish security guard at the embassy. So you see the conflict in what they're saying. Also, this guy writes for the Washington Post and the New York Times, the same newspapers that went after Brett with no evidence. Let's wait and see, but it just doesn't add up. And I agree. There's a lot of holes in it right now. I mean, as of this recording, from what I understand, on my way home from work, the Saudis were going to make a statement. Let's just get this right out of the way. It had been thrown out that possibly this was a rogue group that had done something, and okay, that's still not good either way. And then it was also thrown out that this possibly might have been an interrogation that went wrong. Now, I really don't think, well, we were having a little light, like torture of the guy and asked him some questions, and maybe we had an overzealous interrogator that might have, done something wrong. That's still kind of murder, so that doesn't really help. It's not really a great excuse. So, that if that winds up being the official story, that's no good. And the rogue group excuse, that also, I don't think that's going to go over terribly well. So I mean, pretty much the way this ends up is, if this dude is dead, if he walked into the Saudi Arabia consulate and is never going to walk out alive, that's just not good. That's just not good, because that is going to be a problem. There's going to be a whole lot of shit that's going to go on because of that, and it's not good. No matter what the excuse is, it's not good. And if it was, we were interrogating him and he happened to die, we're going to see that as murder. Like, that's just kind of the way that works. We're going to see that as being murder. That's not good. And if it's a rogue group that went in and did this, that's going to be pretty tough going right there too. That's also not gonna go well. So, hopefully the guy's just still alive. That's what I'm hoping. Ultimately, the guy's just still alive. President Trump said that if something happened untoward and the guy's dead, that there's obviously going to be some sort of sanctions and whatnot going on. The Saudis countered with all manner of threats of their own, saying that the oil prices are going to go up, things of that nature, and I think they wound up walking that back, because I think ultimately we would just kind of go, okay, well then we won't buy oil from you anymore, and we'll just use our own for a while until you guys come to your senses or whatever. So I don't know, but I've come to learn that the Saudi people are not ones to be threatened lightly. They don't deal well with threats. But at the end of the day, if this dude's dead, like, that's not good. Like, I don't know what exactly you expect to happen, but it isn't going to be good. It isn't going to be good for anybody. This is one of those things where it's like nobody wins a fight. Nobody's going to win in this fight. Everybody's going to lose. So again, I don't know if anything's actually been decided at this point. I don't know if anything's going to be decided by tomorrow when this actually posts, but this is where it stands right now as far as I'm aware. So that's good to get out of the way, I think. Another person said, I believe that most of the bad things that these media are reporting for the 2 years about Saudi Arabia is the Boy Wolf story, because they feel threatened by the Saudi leadership over the region and their projects with Obama. That's why you would find many Saudi people, like myself, him saying this, standing critically beside our government, even though none of us is perfect. But to be bullied by Iran, Al Jazeera, Canada, or even Turkey, no way. We will stand by our imperfect government until this Cold War is over. Now, that kind of goes back to the point I made before. You know, like, I'm realizing that the Saudi Arabian people are the type of people that if you come at them, they're not going to back down. They're going to go, yeah, well, fuck you, you know. So, you know what I mean? And I said, I hope it doesn't get in the way of the reforms that are going on. And they responded, that's why we are standing by our government. And I think the reforms that are going on right now are fantastic. And I hope they continue. I hope that this doesn't derail that sort of thing. You know, this is why it's just bad all around, no matter what. Like I said, nobody wins in this. So, someone else said, I think the Turks and liberals do not want Saudi Arabia and the Republicans to succeed in solving the Israeli-Palestine issue because it is too close to be solved. That's a good point. I can see that being a thing. I don't know where Turkey fits in that, but you know, I can see that issue being something that people don't want to have resolved. I can see that being kind of a political thing, you know what I mean? So I thought that was a very interesting point. I really like this comment. Thank you for your guilt, or I think what he meant to say, thank you for your innocent until you prove otherwise, because we are sick of it from Western media. Basically, what I think is happening is two things. One, Saudi Arabia tells Khashoggi to disappear, and we do it for him to put pressure on Turkey to give up the pastor, and that what they did, in another word, would we have to put a stick in everyone's ass and give Trump a win. How it's at maybe time. It could be a great thing that this Khashoggi guy is helping with. I also thought that was odd. The timing of that was weird. That pastor was released from Turkey right after all of this started. It seemed to me to be kind of a, we really want you to believe us, here's your pastor back type of thing. I don't know. That the timing of that seemed really odd to me. It was another one of those things that it sticks in my mind and I go, I didn't mention it in the first video because I completely forgot about it, but it was a thing that I thought was very odd. The second thing, the Muslim Brotherhood terrorist group, at least they think they're terrorists. They might have kidnapped the guy for Erdogan to make Turkey get out from the crisis. What is that crisis? The currency and economic crisis. The relationship of Saudi Arabia and the United States is a lot of countries. The pastor issue. I mean, there is that too. Turkey's not in a fantastic position right now. So it's entirely possible that, you know, somebody could have kidnapped this guy to offset the balance of U.S. relationships with Saudi Arabia, and then Turkey releases this pastor to kind of increase relationships with the United States, to get aid in that respect. I can see that being a thing too. I think that's also, I mean, it's politics, man. Politics kind of works like that. It's wheels within wheels within wheels. So I think that that is a possibility. This guy says he doesn't think he's dead. There's just no point in killing him. If anything, he'd probably be arrested for Homeland Security reasons and getting investigated. That can kind of lead into the overzealous interrogation thing. Hopefully that's not what happened, but, you know, and that is a possibility. We'll go into why that's such a good possibility in a minute. We haven't gotten to those comments yet. Another person said, the multitude of cars and personnel all at once seems suspicious, but who knows? What motivation would Turkey have to make it up? Seems like they're just trying to stir shit. It's not like like this behavior from Saudi Arabia is new. I don't know. Motivations that Turkey would have to stir, you know, this kind of thing up. I think we've had two excellent points from that other commenter on, you know, it's political maneuvering, and I can see Turkey doing that sort of thing. Like I said, I don't really trust Erdogan. I don't really know about that guy. He's done some shady, terrible things too. So, and I mean, not like this behavior from Saudi Arabia is new. I've never heard of. I mean, I'm sure it's possible that it's happened. I don't really know a whole lot about it. I'm not really a hardcore like global journalist, so I have no frame of reference really to say anything really about that particular part of the comment. I don't know if it's new or not. Sorry, you know, that's my failing in all of this, but whatever. But I don't remember ever hearing about somebody, you know, being killed in this way. Usually it's a lot of arrests. But, hey, that's entirely possible that this could be a thing. But, again, you also kind of have to look at things done in the past. You know, we do have to take the reform into account. Perhaps things were done in the past that were terrible and bad, but not since, you know, the new reform and everything. You know, maybe they're trying to put that sort of thing behind them. So we have kind of like an odd cusp here, where it's like, are they slipping back into old ways with this, or is this, you know, just a continuation of bad things, or is this a thing we're remembering of bad things in the past that now they're trying to get away from? You know, it's a really, really confusing issue with a whole lot of angles to it. So, you know, again, we just have to find out what's going on with this guy, where he is, if he's actually dead or not. And as far as I know, to this point, with me making this video, I don't know. I don't remember anything, or I don't. At this point, there's nothing that's actually been concretely said to me. So, like I said, I haven't been listening to the news for the past 3 hours or so. So, I don't know. That this might, all of these questions might already be answered, and I could be making this video just to kind of read comments. What do you want from me? All right, now getting into kind of the people who are upset with me, or whatever, who just want to insult me, however you want to look at it. This person said, any guy who wears the cap as you do is not credible. Everybody knows that. The fact that you do not discredits you further. Look, I've never called myself a credible journalist. I've said multiple times, if you're coming to me for your news, you're doing yourself a disservice. Don't do that. I'm here to give my opinions. I'm the opinion section of the newspaper. I'm not this is the serious front page type shit. Like I'm just kind of, I'm trying to work through it like everybody else is. I don't know what's going on. But I think that saying because I'm wearing my hat backwards does not make me credible. I can see how you'd say that, But at the same time, I kind of gotta go, well, did you listen to anything that I said, or were you so distracted by my backwards hat that you were like, no, nothing this guy's ever going to be able to say is going to be that. And I know that I'm wearing a hat backwards. This is also a comedy channel. I believe I put that video in the comedy section because I don't generally change that unless it's, you know, something where I think, oh, I should probably change that for this. So, like, all of this bullshit you're putting on me. That's your projection so that you can discredit me. I already know I'm not a fantastically credible source. That's why I'm on YouTube in my living room. Whatever. Somebody said, quote, his last name is Shogi or something like that. Ha 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 ha. What did I say? You are a huge moron. Ha ha ha. Amazing. What a dick. What a child. What an idiot you are. So I got the guy's name wrong. It's Khashoggi. I don't know if you noticed, but in the title I put The Curious Case of Jamal Khashoggi. I looked up the name. I blanked on it at the time when I was making the video, but I remembered Shogi part, and I said it was something Shogi, or something like that. I don't really particularly think that makes me a moron, a dick, a child, or an idiot, but, you know, whatever. I guess those are not at all arguments in any way, and I also believe that I had said, hey, let's not do base insults here. Let's actually have conversation. Thank you for not paying at all any attention to that part. So there you go. I just think that more shows the type of person you are than the type of person you're trying to make me out to be, but whatever. You can go ahead and be whatever type of person you want to be. And now we get to the crowning comment, as far as I'm concerned, the best comment of show. Here we go. All right. LOL, uninformed and contradictory per usual. You seem to have a lot of trust in a country that does this. Now, I don't have any trust in anybody. Again, I'm not on their side. I'm not on this other side. I'm on my side. My side. Me personally, my side. That's the side that I'm on. You know, I love my country, right? And as long as my country's doing things that I believe are good for me and everybody else in this country, then I support the people who lead this country. If this country gets to a point where it's doing things that I think are bad for me or for everybody else in the country, I'm going to be very critical of that. Right? So, I'm on my side. Right? So, like, I don't have any trust in anybody. Trust has to be earned. And right now, the trust is very much in question. Because if this dude is dead under the command of the Crown Prince or whomever else in the government, that ain't good. That's really not good. So, trust is already in question here. Whatever. So, trust a country. You seem to have a lot of trust in a country that does this. And he sends me this clip. It's a Vice clip. Which I don't really find Vice to be a terribly credible source. I think they're very biased in their reporting. I think that they're not really a fantastic source. But I watched a small portion of the video. The video is Slaves of Dubai, Ben Anderson, right? And I thought to myself, hold on, we'll get to that. We're going to get to that. I forgot that I'm going to save the explanation of everything for the end. I'm going to run through what this guy sent me first. Hold on. All right. So he sends me Slaves of Dubai, right? And this, right? And he sends me an article. At least 15 journalists held arbitrarily in Saudi crackdown, right? And I read the article, And in the article, there was a person named Salah Al-Sahi. Sorry, I know I'm going to be butchering a lot of the names as we go forward. That's my bad. I'm not fantastic a lot of pronouncing names. And it said that the arbitrary reason was insulting the royal court. And this, he sends me another article. Saudi Arabia journalist sentenced to 5 years in prison for tweets ridiculing Islamic religious figures. And this, right? Yeah, oh yeah. And this, Saudi journalist jailed for 5 years for insulting royal court. And this article is about the same Salah Al-Sahi, same person. So he sent me essentially the same article twice. I could go on. This is nothing new for Saudi Arabia. There is also the killing of innocent people in Yemen, which you seem to ignore, but we'll get to that. Saudi Arabia is not to be trusted. This coming from a Muslim who has been to Saudi Arabia multiple times. Don't know why you think that means fuck all to me. It fucking doesn't. Sorry. First things first. Slaves of Dubai. It's very simple to explain why I think that this was an extraordinarily fucking poor choice of a video to send to me. Because a lot of the times I ask you guys if you have what you think is a good source, if you have what you think is good information, send it to me. I'll watch it. But the thing that's funny about that is that I'm serious. Not only that I want you to send me things, but that I'll watch it. Right? And I've said this many times before. Think of me as being an idiot at your own peril. I'm not as dumb as you hope I am. So I'm watching Slaves of Dubai, right? And I think to myself, where is Dubai? Funny question. Here's Dubai. I know this is a terrible picture. I cropped it all to fuck, but I cropped it all to fuck for a reason. But there's Dubai, right? Dubai on the map. You see it there, Dubai. Now, let's zoom out a little bit, shall we? And see exactly where Dubai is. Oh, look at that. Dubai is in the northern tip-ish area of the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates. Funny thing about the United Arab Emirates, it isn't Saudi Arabia. If you look at this picture here, where it has Saudi Arabia colored a yellowish hue, and everything that is not fucking Saudi Arabia is kind of colored a brownish green hue, you might notice that the United Arab Emirates is not colored yellow. Because it's not Saudi Arabia. So for you to send me the Slaves of Dubai to talk about the terrible things that the Saudi Arabian people are doing, it's not in Saudi Arabia. They're not doing it. Again, I'm going to ask this question. I ask it so many times to so many of you that send me things. I watched it. Did you? Did you watch it? And did you think past the brown people doing bad things to other brown people? Right? Like, I'm not saying it's like a racist thing, but it kind of looks, aren't you all Chinese? No? Aren't you all Mexican? What do you mean Puerto Rican? Isn't Puerto Rico in Mexico? You know, I'm not saying it's racist. I'm just saying it's kind of fucking ignorant as all hell. So, there you go with that. There's my response to your Slaves of Dubai video. Not Saudi Arabia. Check and mate, I think, on that. And as far as the two articles, the one that you doubled to pad it, but nevertheless, as far as the 3 articles, look, I will say this. I am not in total lockstep thinking Saudi Arabia is a wonderful fucking place. I'm just not. There are things going on there that are bad. They're doing a reform, and I think that's fantastic. One of the things that goes on there that I think is bad is they do not have freedom of speech. They don't. They don't have First Amendment. We have First Amendment. And for those of you who don't understand or think that the First Amendment means, well, I can say whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want. No, it doesn't mean that. The First Amendment means that the government cannot imprison you for being critical of the government. They don't have that in Saudi Arabia, right? They don't. I think that's bad. I'm not in favor of not having a First Amendment type law or right given to the people. I think that you should be able to criticize your government if you think your government's doing bad things. I don't think you should be in prison for that shit. I think the government should take the voice of the people that it governs into account when it makes its governmental decisions. And if the people don't like what you're doing to them, I think that that's something that should be looked at. Now, I don't know where that falls in the reform. I don't know if Saudi Arabia is going a freedom of speech direction. But as far as I'm aware, they don't have freedom of speech. So if you go out critical against your government, you know, are you trying to tell me that these people didn't realize that they lived in a country that didn't have freedom of speech? Because as far as I know, it's kind of like robbing a bank. You know that shit's illegal, but people do it anyways. And then they get arrested, and you can't really go, oh, woe is me, I got arrested for committing a crime. It's a crime. It's not right. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's good. But what am I going to do about it? There's fucking nothing I can do about it. And arresting somebody isn't the same as killing somebody. There's a difference. Now, I don't know if they've killed any of these people for doing this sort of thing. And if they did, I think that's bad. You know, I've always tried to kind of portray myself as a freedom of speech type of guy. Apparently I'm not always successful with that. I don't understand how, except maybe you haven't watched any of my other videos that have anything to do with anything not Saudi Arabia. But whatever, everybody picks and chooses how much they wish to know about things. Funny that. Brilliant segue into Yemen. I picked and choose what I you know wish to know about. Oh man, hold on, shit. So I decided to do some heavy reading on the Yemen Civil War, Yemeni Civil War, 2015 to present, right? And I'm going to put up this section here, which I imagine is the section that this person would like me to look into. Because why look at anything that hadn't have anything to do with fucking Saudi Arabia, right? Alright. So, the Yemeni Civil War is apparently a war being fought between the Hadi, again, I know I'm going to butcher all this shit, Hadi and the Houthi, I don't know, militia. And they're having a civil war right now, right? Now, apparently the Houthi are being portrayed as the bad guys. I'd like to read you a section of the Houthi movement page on Wikipedia, which is, you know, this is why it's going to color my commentary upon this. The Houthi movement attracts its Zaydi Shia followers in Yemen by promoting regional political religious issues in its media, including the overreaching U.S.-Israeli conspiracy and Arab collusion. In 2003, the Houthis' slogan, "God is great, death to the U.S., death to Israel, curse the Jews, and victory for Islam," became the group's trademark. Houthi officials, however, have rejected the literal interpretation of the slogan. I don't know what the figurative interpretation of curse the Jews, death to the U.S., death to, I don't really know what the figurative interpretation of that would be, but you know, so I think maybe that's why they're seen as the bad guys in this conflict. at least by the U.S., probably why they're seen as the bad guys in this conflict. Nevertheless, all right, now we're going to get into Saudi-led intervention in Yemen. In response to rumors that Saudi Arabia could intervene in Yemen, Houthi commander Ali al-Shami boasted on 24th of March 2015 that his forces would invade the larger kingdom and not stop at Mecca, but rather Riyadh. The following evening, answering a request by Yemen international recognized government, Saudi Arabia began a military intervention alongside 8 other Arab states. So kind of to pin this all on Saudi Arabia is kind of disingenuous. And with the logistical support of the U.S. Oh, we're involved too. Against the Houthis. Bombing positions throughout Sana'a, I think. In a joint statement, the nations of the Gulf Cooperation Council, with the exception of Oman, said they decided to intervene against the Houthis in Yemen at the request of the Hadi government. King Salman of Saudi Arabia declared the Royal Saudi Air Force to be in full control of Yemeni airspace within hours of the operation beginning. The airstrikes were aimed at hindering the Houthis' advance towards Hadi's stronghold in southern Yemen. Al Jazeera reported that Mohammed Ali al-Houthi, a Houthi commander appointed in February as president of the Revolutionary Committee, was injured by an airstrike in Sana'a on the first night of the campaign. Reuters reported that planes from Egypt, Morocco, Jordan, Sudan, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, we already discussed them, Qatar, and Bahrain are also taking part in the operation. That's a lot of countries to just go look at Saudi Arabia. Iran condemned the Saudi-led airstrikes, big surprise, and urged an immediate end to attacks on Yemen. Saudi Arabia requested that Pakistan commit forces as well, but Pakistan's parliament officially voted to remain neutral. However, Pakistan agreed to provide support in line with a United Nations Security Council resolution, dispatching warships to enforce an arms embargo against the Houthis. Boy, it even sounds like the UN is involved in this. The bombing campaign was officially declared over on the 21st of April 2015, with Saudi officials saying they would begin Operation Restoring Hope as a combination of political, diplomatic, and military efforts to end the war. Even still, airstrikes continued against Houthi targets, and fighting in Aden and Adali went on. Now, I mean, that's not good. If they say we're going to officially declare an end to it on this day, and they don't do that, that's not good. Due to the intervention, AQAP presence in Yemen has been reduced to its weakest point since 2012, with many areas previously under their control liberated. A Washington Post report indicated that more than 2,000 militants have been removed from the battlefield, with their controlled areas now having improved security and a better delivered humanitarian and development assistance, such as to the port city of Mukalla and other liberated areas. However, an AP investigation, Associated Press investigation, established that the military coalition in Yemen actively reduced AQAP in Yemen without military intervention, instead by offering them deals and even actively recruiting them in the coalition because they, quote, are considered as exceptional fighters. The notion of the coalition recruiting or paying AQAP has been thoroughly denied by the United States Pentagon, with Colonel Robert Manning, spokesperson of the Pentagon, calling the news source patently false. Certification and assurance was announced by the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, stating that maximum efforts are being taken by the Saudi-led coalition to avoid civilian casualties in order to authorize American military to refuel coalition military aircraft, and has affirmed to continue its support. The Spanish government initially canceled the sale of 400 laser-guided bombs to Saudi Arabia. However, they have since reversed the decision. Now, it did say in here that there were a lot of... here we go. In 2018, the United Nations warned that 13 million Yemeni civilians... Oh, wait, hold on. According to the UN and other sources, from March 2015 to December 2017, 8,670 to 13,600 people have been killed in Yemen, including more than 5,200 civilians, as well as estimates of more than 50,000 dead as a result of ongoing famine due to the war. Now, 52,000 or 520,000 civilians, or oh my God, 5,200 civilians, Jesus Christ, 5,200 civilians being dead. That's not good. I don't know. I mean, if they're purposefully bombing civilian places, that's not good. I'm not in favor of that. I don't think you should be purposely bombing civilians. But it's war. They're having a war. Civilians die in war. 5,200 out of anywhere from 8 to 13,000. You know, that's not good. Collateral damage is not good. When it's civilians, it's not good. But it's war. People die in war. Lots of people die in war. Civilians die in war. So, my official statement on the situation going on in Yemen is that it's unfortunate that there's a civil war going on. It's unfortunate that civilians are being killed. If civilians are being purposefully targeted, that's bad. But it seems like a hell of a lot more countries than just Saudi Arabia are involved in this. I don't hear you mentioning Kuwait or who all else, Egypt. I lost it now. Morocco, Jordan, Sudan, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain. I don't hear anybody mentioning all these countries. And they're also involved. So, let's be a little honest here. What's your real end goal? This person seems to pop up only whenever I talk about Saudi Arabia to tell me how terrible the Saudi Arabians are. I think you might be a little bit biased. I'm just saying. And when you send me a video about Dubai, which isn't in Saudi Arabia, you send me 2 articles about people being imprisoned for breaking the law, and a 3rd article, which I honestly believe that you either didn't fucking read or threw in there to pad your argument, how am I supposed to take you seriously? What am I supposed to say to that? They broke a law in a country where I think the law is wrong. But I can't do shit about it. And there you go. I've talked about Yemen. I think it's terrible that civilians are dying in a civil war. If civilians are being targeted purposefully, that's very bad. I think that's far worse than killing one journalist. But I don't hear anybody reporting on it. So either that's an overblown, exaggerated, oh, look at what they're doing, it's so awful type of thing, when they're not really doing that, or they're really doing that and we are literally turning a blind eye to it. And that's extraordinarily bad. So, but I don't know one way or another. Because, again, I'm a dude on his couch talking about what interests him in the news. So, what do you want from me?